Day number 3 review. I am back home in South Carolina. It's been an awesome couple of days being at the 10X conference, and I'm going to tell you about day number 3 of the conference. I couldn't make it at day number 4, which was today, but I still got some really good insights on day number 3. I will have to say, Elena Cardone was the best speaker on day number 3. She killed it. She did amazing. All right, so first things first, Grant Cardone came out and he was talking. He was saying, hey, I know hard work. My dad taught me how to do hard work. Um, and he said, you shouldn't focus on what day it is. Your day isn't counted by days, it's counted by what you do now, like by action. He says, what are you doing with your time? Like, you really need to start thinking about that. And he said, if you want something to get done, you really have to give it to the busiest person because they'll figure out how to get it done in the amount of time they are given. He said, yeah, work saved my life. When I decided to stop settling, I started winning. He said, everything you do should be income focused because you should be figuring out what you need to do to always be in a constant exchange, this constant flow of give and receive. Um, whether you're buying and then you're selling, you're always in this give and receive process and transaction mode, and that's when you feel like that's when he also felt like he was at his best, when he was succeeding the most. He said everything else is just kind of like whatever. And he said, hey, you really need to abandon all the labels that you put yourself in. Because if it was up to the doctors, if it was up to everybody else, I would be on some sort of ADHD or HDD or, all those medicines that people have when they're super hyperactive. So he said, hey, get rid of all those dumb labels that people put on you and that maybe you even put on yourself. The number one thing that matters are your dreams. That is before everybody else. Because he said, if I give up on my dreams, I give up on Elena. I give up on my kids. If I give up on my dreams, I give up on everything else. My dreams are number one. And he's right. That's where his power is. And then he also said, you need to stop spreading bullshit, because he said he was talking to someone in the elevator while he was going down to the conference, and they told him, hey, maybe you only live once. And he said, dude, you don't know if we only live once, and if we do, you still don't know. How are you gonna know? Like, stop spreading that. Instead of that, just freaking do your life, Stop spreading bullcrap. And he said, you need to stop giving yourself so many titles, because those titles actually hold you back. And everything you say and do is an agreement, whether it's an action or whether they are words. You really need to watch what you say with your mouth. At least you need to own up. You need to own up to things that you think you lack. Because label will always limit you. Instead of saying, oh, turn off the lights, oh my god, we have to use coupons, why don't you just fess up and say, hey, I don't know how to create income. And now, once you know that truth, then you can switch things up. Then you can say, okay, great, that's the freaking truth. Now, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to exchange ideas and exchange some sort of value with the marketplace in order to get the money I need? And he said too, when people are average and they're just seduced by being normal and being, taken care of, that's freaking selfish, because that means they're trying to be average. You really need to try to go the next level, everything you do all the time. You need to have a number. You need to have a target for what you want to make. if you want something and if you like something, you should always be able to pay for it. The question you should ask yourself is, hey, what do I need to do in order to have, yeah, if it's a Lamborghini, like what do I need to do in order to have that? Like, what would it mean for me to have that? What does it mean to have to do with how much do I have to pay insurance? What's the maintenance of the car? You know, what are the extra things that might need? Like, what's the gas? Like, I need to think about these things. Like, you need to have an idea of what it's going to cost you if you want it. And you should be able to pay for exactly what you want. Because he said ultimately, not getting what you want and being disappointed is not making a sell. Disappointment is not making a sell. Because again, if you go back to his basic idea of that he has in sell or be sold, he says selling is not just about transacting people with money. The commissions most of the time are just getting what you want. So if you're disappointed in life, that means you're not making a sell. You're not getting what you want. So what you need to do is you need to start learning how to sell in order to overcome that, in order to be able to get what you want, be able to pay for that Lamborghini, be able to get whatever you want, no questions asked. Um, and you need to stop having this scarcity mentality and check who you're following, you know, because who you follow always determines what goes in your head and what people tell you, because you transact ideas with your words and with your actions. And if somebody around you is like, oh, well, you know, I turn off my lights all at my house, like I don't leave anything on, I coupon, like I stress about money, you're transacting ideas with somebody when you're hearing that, and that's being engraved into your head. So you need to only associate yourself with people that are thinking about growth and expansion. um oh, and he says, you know, yeah, maybe he doesn't tell his wife he loves her, but the way you measure that is by the way he measures that is by going to the marketplace and saying, look, Elena, I'm building an empire for us. Like, we are taken care of. Like, I am busting my butt to make sure that we have everything we need. That is a sign of love. I'm taking care of my family to make money. Yeah. And he said, you know, you need to stop having a victim mentality. Every time you blame somebody, you are in trouble. You are not a victim. You need to own up to everything that has happened to you, because everything is an idea. And how we keep things going is by having new ideas, is by making new sales, is by exchanging information with other people, literally transacting with other people. And you know, you need to buy stuff to expand. Yeah, sometimes you need to buy a new plane. That's what he did. He bought a new plane, but he said, I didn't buy a plane to just buy a new plane. I bought this plane in order to be able to be in front of more people, in order to be able to have a bigger audience, in order to be able to collapse time and to control time, in order to do things I need to do in order to make my empire grow. Um, and he said, yeah, there's just no more excuses. You need to get income. You need to figure this out. You need to know what you want. You need to take action. And you need to go into the marketplace in order to get what you want. And he said, the every time you feel like you're depressed or you're feeling upset, the healing is in the doing. So when you realize that if you start doing and start thinking bigger, and start pushing yourself and start taking more action, that's when you realize, hey, I'm not depressed, I'm just maybe not busy enough. Yeah, and he said, yeah, what did your parents talk to you about? Because he said, my parents never talked to me about money, about how to be successful in this kind of stage. It's about the he said, yeah, those actions that you need to take, sometimes they're very small. Like, hey, it's about making that phone call, making that visit. It's about the ask. It's about what you're asking people to transact with you. And two, it's all in the follow up. If someone tells you no the first time, doesn't mean they're not going to tell you yes in maybe a week or something. And he said everything is an idea, and society has all places in different ideas to be able to have access to our money. Like, for example, the bank sold the idea that everybody needed to own a house in order to have this American dream. So, if we buy into that, we're feeding the banks. And he said, yeah, we need to break out of that mentality. We need to feed ourselves. We need to transact with other people in a different way where we're the ones getting rich. Um, and he said, yeah, people speak in code. Um, he said, yeah, people speak in code. Like his mom didn't know how to bring the income in. So what she would say is, turn off the lights, make sure you and your brother pee at the same time and flush at the same time. Make sure you eat everything on your plate. People speak in code. And you need to replace all those excuses and all the codes that you've been telling other people and even yourself with the truth. If you don't know how to do something, if you don't know something, you need to say, hey, I don't know this. I need to figure this out. And you need to always be exchanging. Um, you need to always be in the market exchanging products and ideas and services with other people. Yep, he said you need to always close the proximity to information. You got to do whatever it takes in order to get what you want. He said the only reason I am doing this, the only reason I do all these conferences and the only reason I have Cardone is in order to be able to enrich more people. I want to make people investors. I want you to be an investor in my company. Come to Cardone Capital and invest $3 million. I want to ride in your plane. I want to see you succeed. Um, I want you in my team. I need you to play big. I need you to dream big. Because that's the more people we can help together. He said there's 8 billion people that I want to see succeed. Um, and his big thing is, hey, how do I get Cardone University in schools? How do I make this part of the curriculum? How do we sneak that in with algebra and with, trigonometry? I can't even say it. Never even took the class. How do we sneak that in with statistics, with social studies? How do we get this in school? Where's the balance? And he said, yeah, the balance in my life is just doing my life. It's not about, oh, I need to do 20 minutes to do this, 20 minutes that. It's like, look, there should just be a flow in what you do every time. All right. And he said you only have a job to do in your business. That's getting 8 billion people to know you and to do business with you. He said, yeah, don't be a little bitch. Don't be average. You need to be 10x because otherwise you're just settling and you're doing everything but the right thing that you need to do in order to be a 10x kind of guy or girl. Um, and he said, too, to operate in a 10x level, you do need the right people with you. And two, you need to marry the right person. Grant Cardone waited until he was 40, 45 in order to get married because he said, I needed to find the right person to make me grow, which I thought that was awesome. So, yeah, he said, take massive action. Get the information you need in order to know how to make money. If you need to spend money, you need to spend money. You need to use money to get what you want. And he said, this is not about the law of attraction. This is about the law of action, massive action. Great. So the next speaker was Michael Burt. And he said, you do business with people that relate to you. You do business with people that believe what you do. He said he had many 10x moments. His first 10x moment was realizing that every day is an interview for the next job. He said everything is about a revelation in your life. Those big moments that that those big moments that reveal themselves that let you look into the future of what could be possible. Um, Yeah, and he said you need to go over mentors. You need to go for mentors over money first when you're, starting out, because those mentors are the people that are going to 10x you. Just get in the game. And he said, "Yep, on the other side of fear is the next best you." Yeah, he said you need to do mastery over short term. You need to leverage your past experience in order to move on to the future. You need to think like a monster, because monsters think in multiples. You need to dominate a space. Um, and he said you really need to think like a prey. Uh, Not like a prey, like a dominant prey. You need to always be able to have, I'm sorry, prey drive is the instinctive inclination to capture prey. So basically, always going after the next best thing, and you need to have the balls to go for whatever it is you want. Um, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Another good thing he said is that every person should write a book, because everything that you learn is worth writing down. He said maybe at least just for your kids to know who you were, and for them to understand where you come from, and for them to be able to 10x you. And he said you need some hard skills. You need to know how to solve problems. And the more you know how to solve bigger problems, the more money you will make. And he said, the brain, the body, the soul, are all connected. And when those parts are all connected and are able to flow, that's when success starts to really chase you and be a part of you. When you understand that it's all about the synergy between your body, your mind, and your soul. Um, and he said, "Yeah, who wrote you your largest check?" And if you know who wrote you your largest check, where did you get it? And why haven't you gone back for more to get it? He said that's the pattern. If somebody wrote you a big check, what did you do to get that check? Excuse me. And how can you do more of that in order to get more money? And he said he said all skills are transferable. He used to be a basketball coach in Tennessee, and now he's a coach for different people. He's a mentor. He said, you need to do something bigger. You need to start thinking in a global mindset. You need to start thinking in decades, because it takes about 10,000 hours to master anything. So, 10,000 hours, he said it was about 10 years. You need to be a monster producer. You need to have multiple skills. And you need to have a hit list, because these are the people you can help, and only need certain um, you only need a certain amount of people to be in your circle in order to get what you want. He said, yeah, selling is partnering with people that believe what you do. Um, and you see that once you start doing the right thing, things organically grow and blow up. They multiply themselves. Yeah, he said you need to stop selling a product and start selling your values, because when you can come across as selling your values, you more likely will be able to sell your products and your services, which really goes back to Grant Cardone, "Sell or Be Sold," when he talks about you're not in the product business, you're in the people's business, which means you need to connect with the human being that you're transacting with in order to be able to transact with that person. Um, yep, and he said you just need a lot of volume in what you do. Okay, yep, and you say you always need to keep leveraging things. People will pay the price. Top people think in higher ordinance. Big think, big, trying to read my handwriting. So he said, big thing, big action. Oh, and he said he created this place called the Greatness Factory where different people can come together and grow together. I don't know exactly how that works, but I think it's worth looking into. It's called the Greatness Factory, Michael Burt. Um, oh yeah, and he said, yeah, everything you do feeds everything else. Kind of goes back to the way that the way you do one thing, you do everything else. So that goes into that. You do one thing well, it feeds into everything else. The next speaker was Lori Harder. Um, she was all about having a thriving kind of life, brand new ideas. She said you always need to have brand new ideas. You need to always be thinking about your fitness, and you always need to check your gut. You always need to be checking your gut in order to know what you believe and what you feel and how you want to move on to the next situation and the next chapter of your life. Uh, and she said, you always need to have this attitude where you say, hey, I was born for this. I can do this. This constant bathing yourself in ideas and in positive energy in order to be able to produce in massive amounts. Um, she said you need to think in small amounts when you take action sometimes. You need to think, hey, what can I do today in order to change my life? How can I be consistent? And she said, am I working on my gratitude practice? If I'm feeling scared, if I'm feeling fearful of the future, am I thankful enough for right now and for what is in front of me? You are responsible for the energy you give. The environment is stronger than you are, which means you should create an environment that allows you to not have to use your discipline so much. So, like if you know you're obsessed with eating brownies, if you don't buy them and you don't keep them in your house, you're gonna have more discipline to not eat them because they're not in your house. Um, and she said you always need to be moving energy through, and the only way to do that is obviously through transacting and through meeting people, getting ideas, and having a thrive of people where you can exchange information. Um, oh, she did this really powerful meditation where she made everybody close their eyes, and she said, see how you will feel when you get your vision, when you get what you want. How does it feel? Because she said, when you can feel the feeling of getting what you want, that is one of the ways to kind of attract it to you because your energies are in sync together. Yeah, and she said you need to be picturing people congratulating you in your success and congratulating you for living so big. Um, yeah, and she said, you always need to be bathing in that motivation. And that was actually a kind of short talk, and then she ended with a poem that I couldn't write the entire thing down, but I wrote the gist of it. Um, she said, yeah, the master in the art of living makes no distinction between things he doesn't know, in which he leaves others wondering if what he's doing is pleasure or business. Basically, that should all be one action. You should always be in this flow of energy and of moving things together and of making things happen. The next person that came up was Mateo Charles. He did improv Grant Cardone portrait, which is really cool to music. Grant was speaking to him and asking him all these questions, and the guy was just like trying to paint and like trying to focus. I thought that was funny. Um, yep. Okay. And then Grant Cardone was there, and he said, "You need to teach kids how to do stuff. All you have to do is oh, you have to realize that you have bigger responsibilities than yourself. And then, he speaks like he chops around. So then he started thinking like the new currency in our economy, especially in the e-commerce world, is speed. The faster you can get to market, the better. Which really goes along with what he said on the first day and the second day, um, which was if you have an idea, push it to market, do it. Of course, you're gonna need to fix things, but that's fine. You can release kind of like 2.0 version of whatever. But she said, yeah, speed is currency. Speed is currency. The faster you can get something to market, the better you're gonna be. Oh, and then he said the way your ethic should be. He said, you know, if you can't do something in front of a client, if you have to hide it, then it's probably not right. If you can't do things in public, then it's probably not right. Like, for example, if you're doing drugs and you're having to go wash your hands, before you see a client or something, that's weird. Like, you shouldn't be doing those things. You should only be doing things that are normal and in front of a client. Oh yeah, and he said you need to push power to power. So basically, people that are powerful and other people are powerful together are even more able to be even more powerful together. So you need to push power to power. Uh, yeah. Oh, and he said, Grant Cardone said, I don't want to help people that think they have nothing because I can't help you, dude. I can't help you if you think you have nothing. I need you to like find your worth, find your value, in order for this 10x principle to work in you. All right, the next person that spoke was Tim Story. He said that he went to Disney World and he was inspired when he was a little kid because he was poor. He said I his kind of like mantra was I am different, better, and more magical. He said, yeah, when did you know you were Tim Story? Uh, he said he knew he was Tim Story when he could realize that he could be different, better, and more magical. Because he said, yeah, the real you is always going to demand on the you could become. Um, don't be stuck in the almost life, the discount version of yourself, because that's not where life occurs. That's mediocrity. That's average. And he said, yeah, the magic of life comes into your life when you surrender, when you let, kind of like when you let go and you let God, when you let this flow of energy come through you. Um, because he said, yeah, regular doesn't feel good. Uh, oh, and he had another really powerful line that said, once you touch the fire, you can't live with the smoke. So, meaning, once you know how magical things can be, you can never go back. You can never go back to being average. Um, and then once you know the truth, you can do it again. You can do these magical things over and over again. Oh yeah, and he said, most of us think that life is mundane, messy, and full of madness. But underneath all that, there is greatness. There's a lot of greatness. And he said, words shift your whole life. He had a teacher tell him in the sixth grade that he was brilliant. And he'd never heard that before. And that changed his entire outlook on himself. So he said, we really need to be conscious on what we tell other people and how we spread a message because that could shift people. And yeah, we need to be able to shift people and make them believe that they are enough and that they are brilliant. Um, oh, and he said, yeah, you need to stop running from mundane. It's like people think that, oh, they have their regular life, and if they leave and go on vacation, for some reason when they get back, everything is going to be better. And it's not. He said, you need to deal with your problems. If you're feeling sorry for yourself, maybe you just need to start by cleaning your room. That's what you need to do. he said, yep, you need to have a lot of discipline and you need to give up what you want right now for what you really want in the future. He said, yep, just reach up and always pull those miracles. Yep, and then the next person that spoke was Lewis House. He said, you need to build an audience because the bigger your audience, the easier you can sell. He started a LinkedIn business, and his first seminar, he made $6,200. And that's when he realized that he could make a lot of money doing the seminar business. Um, and yeah, he said affiliate marketing for him was just not sustainable in the way he wanted to grow. And he had a talk with Grant Cardone about 7 years ago. And what Grant told him was, hey, Lewis, you need to think bigger. And two, you need to have an audience. You need to build your brand and you need to build your audience because if you don't, you never reach a sustainable growth. Um, yep. And then Lewis House said relationships, those are the things that have the most value, and we need to think as things, all the transactions that we do as an all-win situation. He said, yeah, we always need to have content, consistent content with long-term values. Um, and he said, yeah, you need to have promotion. Like, how do you get on other people's stages in order to get their audiences? How can I elevate my message? And he said, you also need to have some sort of epic branding and messaging in order to communicate with your clients. And you need to, of course, have a unique product. Oh, and the best speaker, here she is, Elena Cardone. She had some really, really, really good lines. She said, yep, massive success in, she said, I want you to have massive success in relationships because you're either building an empire or you're destroying one. And she said, you need to have a discipline and purpose to rise above all the pettiness of life and the pettiness in your relationships. Because the moment you realize that you can build something so great and something so beyond you and your partner, that's when the magic starts to happen. That's when you really start building an empire. Um, yeah, and she said, you go home, I mean, you go out to the marketplace to try to build an empire, but if you come home and you hate your wife or your husband, then you're destroying your empire at home, and that's kind of where it all starts. And she said, yeah, it's really beneath you to be so petty with other people that wrong you, because you don't have time for that. You should focus on the bigger things. Um, she gave an example of a type of horse that alone can pull 8,000 pounds, and then two of those same horses can pull 24,000 pounds. So it grows by a lot. It grows when you're together and you work towards that common end in mind. And you need to think, what's your purpose together? What is your purpose together, and how can you make that bigger than yourself? Yeah, and she said you need to go for the impossible goals because you don't have time for petty. You don't have time for small. Oh, and then she said that when she was with Grant at the beginning, she realized that, well, she thought that Grant would stop his life and cater to her needs and be like the most romantic guy and do everything like that. But she said, yeah, no. And the reason I felt so depressed at the beginning of my marriage was because I gave up on my dreams. She's an incredible shooter and she's like super good at it. So that her dream was just to be kind of like the number one shooter in the world. Um, and she said it's not fair for anyone to think that their partner has to complete them and has to even entertain them. You need to have your own goals. So each person, if you're a couple, needs to have their own goals in order for the empire to grow. And before you can be with somebody, you need to ask yourself, can I build an empire with this person? If the answer is yes, then you should do it. And if it's not, then you shouldn't be with them. Um, Yeah, and she said you need personal massive goals because it's not fair to expect from your partner to be able to keep you happy. You need to find this in a relationship. You need to kind of like sell or be sold. You need to be sold on your own dreams in order for you in a relationship to be sold on your partner and his dreams or her dreams. Uh, and you can do so much together, and you can do your own life and have your own goals and still have a common purpose, which is to grow and to be 10 times more than you could be alone. And he said, yeah, in your relationship, you need to know your role. You need to know what you can do in order for you help your partner succeed. Like for example, she's the brains and the operations behind her husband. She's the one that pushed Grant to be a billionaire and to push for more. She's the one that makes the final call decisions. And she's like, I'm fine with letting Grant take take the home runs and take the glory for it because I know my place. I know we're working towards a common goal, which is to reach 8 billion people. So I don't have time to be petty and to just point him out and think, hey, I never get enough credit for what I do. Um, and she said, yeah, Elena's the architect of the Cardone Empire, and Grant is the executor. Um, and she said, yeah, I make problems go away for Grant, and I create the environment, and like you should for your spouse, you need to create the environment for them to succeed, for them to be 10 times more than they thought they could be. Um, and she said, yeah, you people and things are assets, and you need to be able to place people as assets and things as assets to your spouse and to yourself and to your family in order for your empire to grow. Um, and she said, yeah, understand each person's role. Um, and she said her mantra is all I know how to do is flourish and prosper. All I know how to do is flourish and prosper. That's powerful. And she said she's the one that came up with Cardone Capital because she knew Grant Cardone was in a fight with some sort of Forbes company, and she said the only way to rise above that pettiness of maybe going after that company was to become bigger than that company and to be on the Forbes list like them. Um, Yeah, and she said the great love of love is giving somebody the opportunity and the ability to achieve their dreams. So we need to help our partners to achieve their dreams. Um, and she said, yeah, you must build an empire. The thread is you. Build an empire. Be an asset for yourself. You must do this. And then the next person that spoke, yep, I ran out of paper. I literally used every single page on this book. It was amazing. This is a great book. The next person that spoke was Tim Grover. He said, you need to get your mind together. He said, repetition's key. Principles become great. He said, no, principles are universal. Excuse me. So everybody can be successful. There's many ways to get to one area. Oh, and he said, yeah, Tim Grover is the guy that uh, coached and mentored Michael Jordan. And he said he calls out people on their bullshit and on how they need to get better. Like, for example, he called out Grant Cardone and told him, hey, you need to stop flying on the small plane. You need to buy a bigger plane. You need to double everything you do. So that was cool. And he said he reached he was good friends with Oprah Winfrey, and he was the only person that would tell her about her weight. He would tell her, "Hey, you're looking fat. Like you need to lose weight." And he said, "You need to be straight up with people. You either do it or you don't. Um, and you need to hold everybody to the same standards, whether they're an employee or whether they're a CEO, um, because that's what enables greatness." Let's see. And he said, you need to chase greatness. She said, lots of y'all can't catch average. How do you think you're going to catch greatness? When you're great, people tell you you are great. You don't tell yourself. You make things happen. Uh, yeah. And he said, great people, great elite people that are growing, seek information, seek ways to have new ideas, as opposed to going to the club and drinking. And he said, yeah, it's not an accident that people that seek information and apply it are the ones to succeed. Yeah, and he said, yeah, don't get caught up in so much of the BS stuff and so many of the details. And he said, yeah, the road to paradise begins in hell. It begins in right now in the state that you're in. Sometimes that's chaos. Um, and everything starts in your head, and it's all about your own self worth. He had a really good example. He asked somebody in the audience for $100 bill, and he said, "This is what self worth is like." And he had $100 bill, and he said, "Hey, how many of you would want this $100 bill?" And everybody was like, "Yeah, I would want it." And then he he got the $100 bill, and he just made it like a paper ball, and he said, "How many of you would still want the $100 bill?" And everybody was like, "Yeah, I want it, I want it." He was like, "Okay," and he threw it to the floor, and he stepped all over it. And he said, "How many of you would still want the $100 bill?" And everybody was like, "Yeah, I would." And he said, "Yeah, that's kind of how your self worth is. Even though you've been just thrown on the floor and beat up, doesn't mean you're not worth it. You still have value in you. You still have an opportunity to grow." And then let's see, I had three more pages that I had here somewhere. Because Grant spoke at the end of the event, and he did talk a lot about how he wants everybody to have access to Cardone and to his programs, because he wants to be able to have more investors, to have more people be part of his team, be part of the 10x Nation in a big 10x way. Um, he said, yeah, money follows attention. You need to play bigger. Um, he said, yeah, you need to be able to give more. If not you, then who? Who's going to do it? The best thing that happened to my life after I moved. Oh yeah, he also talked about how the best things in his life happened every time he moved. Like for example, at first he moved from Louisiana to California, then from California to LA, from San Diego to LA and La Jolla or something like that. So he said the more you can move and the more you can have an idea that you can flourish wherever you go. Because he said it's not about the place, it's about you. If you work and if you know what you're doing and if you show this great energy around you, you're going to be successful no matter where you are located. Um, And he said, yeah, you shouldn't want a tribe of people. You should want a nation, an entire galaxy of people that you can exchange ideas and information with, and obviously money with. Um, and he said, yeah, I'm not successful if you're not, because at the end of the day, it's about helping you. Because I'll live through other people. I will live on through other people that will spread my message. And yeah, he said you need to 10x yourself so you can help 10x others. And that was it. That was day 3. I didn't stay for day 4 today. There was a lot of Q&A with the speakers. I had to come back home, and I have to go to work tomorrow, so I couldn't stay another day. I really wanted to, but the good thing is that I already bought my ticket to the third conference that hopefully is going to be in October, November. And the good thing too is that it brought access to Cardone. So hopefully by Monday, which is tomorrow, I'll have access to Cardone, which I'm really excited about. I'm really excited to be digging into the Cardone programs and to be able to see what other people are experiencing with the program, and two, to be able to dialogue better with people in the 10x Nation. Anyway, I am exhausted. I was in the airport for a long time today. I gotta go to bed. I gotta go to bed. My 10x hat. I hope everybody has a wonderful night. I am wishing you all lots of success. My name is Laura. If I could ever help you with anything, I'm based out of South Carolina. I cover Georgia for my business. For my business is LM Field Services. I'm sorry, lmfieldcells.com. Sorry, it's so late, so I'm like half asleep. My email is laura at lmfieldcells.com. If I can ever help you with anything, just let me know. And I'm happy to be part of the 10X Nation. This is awesome. Appreciate y'all.